This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody.
Hello.
We're happy you're here with us again. I hope you're having a good day. Something that I'd like for us to talk about today, that we might have touched on it in a different way, but I really want to talk about life skills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please don't make fun of me, though.
No promises. No promises at all. But I want to say, first of all, that what I notice is that there's a big difference in the things that fall in the category of life skills versus the abilities that you have in other areas of your life. So sometimes instructions seem hard for you to hold on to. So is that an accurate observation?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I can only really follow maybe at most 3 or 4 steps in a row before I just lose the rest.
Sure. I think I do too. That sounds like a 3 or 4. Like I can do maybe a couple at a time and then, go back.
Yeah, that's on a good day for me.
Oh, on a good day for you. I thought you were going to say for me.
No.
Yeah, I think. So is that everything? Like across the board? You need it in little chunks, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, specifically, I don't think that you have a memory issue because you can retain an enormous amount of information.
Yeah. I'm just awesome like that.
Well, yep. That feels very different than you following steps.
Yes.
So there's a different process there. So you can take information in, you can retain it.
Mm-hmm.
Very different than the activity of being asked to do something and follow instructions.
Right.
Okay. So
maybe if I were to try and visualize it or something, I've never actually tried to do that, of me actually doing the steps. Maybe that would be a solution, but I honestly have never thought of it before. So...
Well, we'll try that and then...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think that's one that we haven't tried before.
Yeah.
So, is there anything... So, life skills would be here at home and the things that you need to do for yourself to take care of the needs that you have to take care of.
Right.
So
brushing my teeth,
mm-hmm.
doing laundry,
mm-hmm.
Showering,
mm-hmm.
Putting on deodorant.
Mm-hmm.
Things that may seem like simple enough things to do, I just don't think to do.
Mm-hmm. Right. And is there anything outside of the house that falls in this category that is also very difficult for you to kind of put together and make sense of?
Well, I know I do shopping some
mm-hmm.
for like groceries and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I have like a list written down of what I need to get,
mm-hmm.
more often than not I'll get the wrong thing or I'll forget something on that list.
Mm-hmm. Like most of us, if we have a list, we buy more than what's on the list.
Yeah.
And if we don't have a list, it's just mayhem. Because we buy all kinds of stuff we don't need. Because stores are pretty good about marketing things in such a way that you're not aware that they just got you to buy something, by the way that it was placed and the colors used and what have you. So, I'm there with you on that one too. So I'm asking because I don't know the answer to this at all. That concept of needing to take care of your daily needs, is there any other activity that represents that same kind of experience for you, or it does not? When you have a grocery list, I think that you're pretty good, and we've worked a lot with going and making a list, seeing what you need, going to the store, comparing prices, and then going through the whole process. And that, it seems like you're able to really, you've got the hang of it at this point, that you can take those steps in a row on your own,
and to know when to get generic and when not to.
Right. We worked a long time on that, didn't we?
Years.
Yeah. Because some stuff, don't you think that, like, some stuff, even though it's cheaper, it's not worth saving some money because it just tastes gross?
Yeah.
It's just, you get some things you just got to buy the name brand, and other times it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, like how you feel about meatballs. Don't get the generic because they don't taste as good.
Well, I used to think that. I haven't eaten meat in years.
That's true.
But I remember that from when I did, yeah. I never thought that, I didn't think they tasted good. So, yep.
Says the vegan.
Yeah. So is there anything... So first of all, do you know what happens here at home? Like, do you know what happens, what causes the experience where you don't follow through on something? So here's like a typical scenario. That I ask you to do something, you say okay, I'm doing my own thing, I come back to that thing that I'd asked you to do, and it's not done.
Right.
That's a typical kind of scenario.
Yeah.
So that there needs to be typically a couple of prompts.
Yeah.
In order to get that done.
Yeah. For the most part, it's usually something like I get sidetracked with something else, which then in turn gets sidetracked with something else, and I completely forget about it. I mean, there's other instances where I just, like, I may be thinking about other things and I just answer you out of rote response, and when I'm not even thinking about it.
Right.
That one right there, though, doesn't happen that often.
Well, for a couple of reasons, I think. Probably the biggest one is that I've been trained to not ask you something when you're busy doing something else, or when I don't have your full attention, or when I don't have eye contact.
Right.
Or if it's not, like, I don't give you a list of things to do, I asked you one thing at a time. And if there's more than that, I can remind you of the next thing, or I can have you
come to you with the next, to find out what the next thing to do is.
So as far as life skills go, I would put keeping your room clean, keeping your living area clean, the kitchen, whatever it is. I keep that. I think that falls under life skills, right? Because it's part of the daily function, which is to sweep or vacuum, whatever it is, dust something.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't necessarily agree whenever it comes to keeping the room quote unquote clean, because I know where everything's at.
I can't remember what it was, but I think it was some show or movie that where this person had a desk that was just in a disarray. It was such a disaster.
Yeah.
And somebody came in and they moved one thing, and the first person that desk belonged to came back in and knew that something had been moved.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? How in the world? Because it's such a disaster.
Yeah.
Do you know if something's been moved, or you just...
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
That's wild. That's wild. So there's two different things there then. There's keeping your living space organized, and so what we just discovered is that one person's organization is another person's mess, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we won't really count that then. So I get that. But I do think that following, we've tried chore charts when you're growing up.
Yeah.
We've had different times when it was recommended that we put signs, little notes, I should say.
Yeah.
Like maybe on the bathroom mirror or somewhere where you would see it. Brush your teeth, like a list of a few things.
Right.
And I always thought it was interesting because you have a very definite opinion about putting a note in a location and leaving it there.
Yeah. It's essentially that I'm not going to see it. I may see it one or two times, but by that point it becomes I just don't see it.
Because it becomes a fixture.
Yes.
Right. And it doesn't warrant your attention.
Right.
Okay. So we've tried those two things.
Mm-hmm.
We've tried prompting and redirecting, and we've tried Dad and myself just not saying anything to you to see what would happen.
That's probably the worst one.
Well, doctors have said for us to do that too. That you'll find out, it'll get so bad, and then you'll just go, "Oh, this is not okay." Well, that's not the case.
And or at the very least, you guys haven't let it go that long.
Long enough for us to be grossed out by
Yes.
what we're but what we face there. But I'm wondering, how could we help you to stay on track with your responsibilities at home? And first of all, is there anything else? And I'm sorry for interrupting. I know you're about to answer that. Is there anything else that you can recall that we've tried before?
Carrot in the stick is one thing. In the sense of whenever we were up in Pennsylvania, there was a huge chore list thing that was for both Haley and I, and we would have you sign off on different things, and we'd get points or whatever for each chore. And whenever we reached a certain amount, we could go to the movies or have like $10 to spend at the mall or something like that. And I seem to recall that worked fairly well for a time. But otherwise, I'm not really coming up with much else. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. Otherwise, we would just try using... There's one that's been your chore for as long as you were big enough to do this. And that was to take out the trash.
Oh, yeah.
And lately is the first time that, I would say maybe the last 6 months is the first time that you've remembered to put a new trash bag in without having to be told to put the trash bag in.
Yeah, sometimes I do get sidetracked. But generally speaking, yeah, I do. I have been remembering.
Yeah, at this point, it's rare that you don't.
Yeah.
What happened to make that stick when all these years... there would be times I would walk into the... So in our other house, the trash can was under the sink. So there would be times that you would take the trash out, but I would come in and the trash can would be in the middle of the kitchen with no bag in it.
Yeah.
That happened a lot.
Yeah.
And so now, when you take out the main trash from the kitchen, just about all the time you put a bag in it.
Yeah. So
that's really cool. The other ones around the house usually don't get a bag put in them. But what's the difference?
That one's a constant one, the other ones aren't?
Well, all those years
I know. I should have it down by now.
No. I'm not saying you should be putting the bags in the ones around the house. I'm saying that the one in the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
you do that now.
Mm-hmm.
What changed? What's the difference now versus, the last 20 years where it would be difficult for you to remember to put a bag in the trash? You don't know?
Well, there's my joke answer, then there's my real answer.
Okay, let it fly.
All right, my joke answer: being threatened to be kicked out of the house if I don't do it.
Okay.
Real answer: I honestly, right now, I'm not sure what changed.
Okay.
I just pull a Nike and just do it.
Yeah.
That's the whole crux of the matter, though, isn't it?
It is.
Of trying to figure out what it is that is making me change to do that.
Right. Or what stands in the way of you doing that. And to go from one to the next, they're the complete opposite, and yet the percentages of you doing those at those periods in your life are the same. You have been doing it on a constant, whereas before, again, that trash can would be in the middle of in the middle of the kitchen, and
Yeah. I think part of it, at least, is that I'm maturing some.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I'm 29 now. I should have matured some. But I mean, really, partially experience, I guess, and partially constantly being reminded to do so.
Right. It was a long, 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. How are life skills different than intellectual understanding?
Life skills are typically things that should be common sense to do, but are also things that I just don't think to do. Whereas, what'd you call it?
Intellectual understanding.
Okay, whereas intellectual understandings are just knowledge. They're essentially things that I can either remember or have interest in or something, but it's knowledge based. It doesn't necessarily have physical
action.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't have that. I mean, yeah, there might be a test on it or something, but that's not really physically acting upon my knowledge.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that completely. And the thing that I'm wondering about is that life skills is a real issue. It seems that within the autism community.
Mm-hmm.
Life skills seem to be an issue, not just for you, but for a lot of the awesome people that have autism that I've met. It seems to be kind of like a theme that everybody in that spectrum shares that in common. They have that in common.
Right.
So it seems to me then that this is a thing that. So when you talk about, I asked you that question on purpose because it does feel very different than something that you learn. A way that when we're talking, here's what I've said this before, that you could talk about rocket science with somebody.
And quantum physics and such.
Quantum physics, and you forget to brush your teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that's so...
Mundane?
Well, baffling.
Oh, yeah,
me.
that too.
It's baffling. Yeah, but I mean, that's the way you think about it. Do the responsibilities of just everyday life, do they seem so mundane that you just look past them and they don't seem to have a consequence, or they don't seem to have a purpose?
Well, brushing your teeth, as the example you said, I do see a point in, and I do see the purpose of doing so. But at the same time, it's not something that I think about. As in, it's not something that I have to think through the steps to do. It's... Let me try and explain it in a different way. Whenever it comes to things like, again, with the examples you said, or that we said, was like quantum mechanics or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's an intellectual thing. Mm-hmm. It is something that I have to think through and come up with a response and just think the way that think through the steps that makes up such a concept. Mm-hmm. When comparing that to something like brushing your teeth, brushing your teeth, you just do it. You don't think about the steps. You don't think about how you're going to do it. And yet, whenever I do something like that, I still do it to a rhythm. I mean, right. I've mentioned that before. Mm-hmm. As I brush my teeth to a rhythm. Mm-hmm. And it takes a certain amount of time and spits and everything like that, right. it has its own beat to it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's not something I consciously think about. Right.
So let me ask you about a different responsibility and see if it's the same thing, okay?
Okay.
So you have a laundry hamper. Mm-hmm. And it has one that has a lid on it. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, so here's the deal. When you get to a point that lid can't close completely, you need to do your laundry. And I know that you see the laundry that needs to get done. Mm-hmm. But I also know for a fact that there's been times that you do your laundry because you don't have any more clothes to wear.
Yeah.
So that means that my perception of what would be okay, which, because it keeps you, this dirty clothes are not piling up. Mm-hmm. You stay on top of it, and it just makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. I believe you when you tell me something that I think I'd like for you to explain, though. Mm-hmm. That you've said to me that you see it, so I'm talking about the dirty clothes. Mm-hmm. You see that hamper is completely overflowed. The clothes are on the floor even. It's just piled up. You see it, but it doesn't trigger something in you to take action to do the laundry, to get that taken care of. Right. So it doesn't. So just because you see it doesn't mean that you take action. Right. And this has happened. This type of thing has happened so often that I just don't. Sometimes, maybe sometimes it's because you just didn't want to do it. But I really feel like there's something there that you're really not seeing what it is that you need to do, because this has happened with things that you wanted to get done, but then the day goes by and you just forgot about it.
Yeah.
So in regards to the laundry, can you, in your words, describe what happens when you see it but you don't see it, or you see it but it doesn't? If I saw it, I would go, oh, okay, that's getting full. I need to do laundry, and I would do laundry. That doesn't happen. One doesn't lead to two for you.
Right.
Yeah. Can you explain that?
I don't even see it as one. It's not on the list. No.
Yeah.
No. In all honesty, I may see something, but it doesn't even register in my mind that it's something that I need to do. I mean, yeah, I may need clothes, but at the same time, most of the time, I just don't even notice it. Mm-hmm. I may see it there. I may even step over it. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't occur to me that I need to take care of it.
Right.
I mean, there are some times where I notice it, and then I go and check the laundry and something's running. Mm-hmm. So I have to leave it be, and then I forget about it.
Okay.
That has happened several times.
Mm-hmm. So we've tried setting up a day of the week that you do laundry.
Yeah. That has fallen through the last few weeks, I think, or months.
Years.
No, I mean where there's been a certain day where I do laundry.
Yes, you're right. Well, since you moved over back into this part of the house, mm-hmm. There hasn't been anything like that set up, really.
Right.
So I agree. We should do that. But it's one of those things too that in the past there's been chore charts, days of the week that things are done, rewards given for certain things, and mm-hmm. A kind of do this and we'll go do that. Right. So like get this done, and we're going to go do something fun right now. Get this done first, and then we can go.
Right.
That takes an awful lot of hands-on by me, like very, very present and guiding all the way.
Right.
But I absolutely believe there's no question in my mind, because I've seen it, that you see something but you don't see it necessarily. I have seen that happen. Yeah. So I know that's, so I'm... It's you. So I said that because I wanted to mention that because of those difficulties in the daily self-care of yourself and your surroundings, mm-hmm. It wasn't sticking. The things that we're talking about, they just weren't sticking. So you got a life coach or a coach that specialized in life skills.
When was this?
Since we lived here.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's tough for anybody that's listening to it. This is a tough situation, and here's why. Because life skills is something that a lot of insurance companies don't feel like they need to pay for. They don't feel like that's something that's valid, or whatever the reason is that it's just not covered. So oftentimes, and this life skills person it's also very difficult. Most insurance companies will not pay for them to come into your home. Well, the issue is that in your home is where you need them.
Yeah.
So I know that, Josh, for you do best learning in that environment.
At the moment, yeah.
Right. So if you had somebody teaching you life skills that was here in the house with us,
it would have gone a lot better than it did. Mm-hmm. Because it ended up being the same thing that happens whenever I go to see or would go to see a weekly psychologist or whatever they're called, psychiatrist. I always mm-hmm. get mixed up between the two. Mm-hmm. But the psychiatrist is the one that writes the prescriptions. Okay, not that one.
Right. So you see, right, on a regular basis. So you would go and talk about stuff.
And I wouldn't be able to give specific examples, and I wouldn't be able to remember a lot of the things that would have happened that week because it didn't happen just then.
Right.
And so whenever I'd try and explain how my week was, oh, it was pretty good. Or, yeah, I was a little bit down, but I'm okay. Mm-hmm.
But no specifics come to mind.
Right.
Right. So you don't go into those meetings with a specific agenda that this is what we need to talk about because this is what I'm struggling with.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest issues that comes from that is that if I can't explain what I'm having issues with, how is it that they know how to help me? Mm-hmm. And so it's really a case where how can I help you from their perspective?
Right.
So
it just reminded me of like most married couples. Like if you don't know what you're thinking, or if you can't express what you're feeling, or what you think about it, how am I going to know? Well, I'm not a mind reader. Well, but if you loved me, you'd know what I needed. You're shaking your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also reminded of what was it, Tobey Maguire?
Mm-hmm.
Was that
Toby?
the movie?
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, Tobey Maguire was an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry Maguire. Let me help you.
Yeah.
Let me help you.
Right. And what happens is that the life skills, growing up, the full focus, was getting you through school, helping you to function and to be okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at times was just basically just be okay.
Yeah.
And other times was to help you to find success in whatever things you were going after. To help to figure out how you work.
Right.
And what you needed to find that success. Mm-hmm. But then there's a point where when you need to be responsible for your own life.
Right.
And in order to do so, life skills are huge. And so I think life skills are important at any stage in a person's life, but in adulthood, most especially because society expects adults to take care of themselves.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's right. I'm saying the system is set up,
mm-hmm.
That for that to happen.
Right.
And benefits and like I guess safety nets go away when you reach 18. A lot of them do. Mm-hmm. And so here you are, and we're trying to get somebody to help because we recognize that you need some help with these life skills. And again, the insurance company doesn't pay for that. So that's difficult. As a parent, it's frustrating that kind of bureaucracy just kind of steps in and says, no, this isn't going to happen when it's clearly needed.
Yeah.
And, not just for you, but for a lot of people.
Right.
A lot of people.
Growing up sucks.
What do they call it? Adulting now. Adulting sucks. Sometimes. So, other than me saying that you have somehow begun to, do the trash and to put a bag, a clean bag into the trash can after you take that out. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that has just kind of clicked for you now, that things that were difficult before? And is there anything that you can share with anybody that may help for them to be able to go from not being able to see how to get to where they want to be to actually getting it done?
Well, I know that everybody learns things differently and thinks things through differently. And as bad as I am at lists, one thing that I would recommend is try and make a big list of every way you can possibly think of to get something to work. And try each thing for at least a week. Because if you just do it for a couple days and it isn't working, it might not be because the situation is the wrong thing to do. It may be that you're having a couple of bad days or something. So that's why I'm saying give it a minimum of a week. And then compare all of them to each other. See what's working better than others. And compare them and mix and match what you can do. And go from there. I mean, it's not... I don't have any specific ways that I can help other people see this. It's difficult enough as it is for me.
Right.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, and like at the beginning of this podcast, I thought of something else to try. So always try and keep an open mind for things, and if you think of something new, add it to the list.
The reality is, and has been for us, that this is something that has been very difficult for you to catch on to, for you to find your way, for you to stay on track, for you to find something that really works for you.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. I know that's one of the things that for me that I get concerned about with you, because even as an adult you need those prompts and redirection on a regular basis for this.
Yeah.
And are you aware that things need to get done?
Sometimes.
Okay. Like you mentioned, sometimes it'll just click, oh, I need to do laundry, and then you go check and it's already being used, and then that moment's gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's also sometimes where it's like, hey, I need to do something. What is it? And it's like, I have to come find you and double check if there was anything that I need to do.
A lot of times when I've asked you to do something and it doesn't get done, and I asked you why, you say you forgot. What happens?
For the most part, I find something more interesting to do. That's the blunt way of putting it. It's that I get sidetracked with other things. And yes, I find them more interesting, but some of the time. But it's not so much that I'm ignoring what you're asking me or telling me to do. It's that I'm just ADD about it. I'm scatterbrained about it.
So what about consequences? If there are consequences that you know that will take place, does that influence whether or not you get something done or not?
Not always. Not always, no.
It doesn't seem like it to me either. And I understand that what we're talking about is that you're human, and there's just sometimes you don't want to do something because maybe you're being lazy and you don't want to do it. I get that. I get that needs to be something that's said, because that can happen.
Sometimes that is the case. It's not that often. At all, really. It's not that often. But on the same flip of the coin, I could be having a very bad day.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. The functioning from one day to the next can be drastic.
Yeah, especially if I'm not on my medication.
Right. Right.
Like, let's say I miss one of them. My next few days could really be screwed up because of it.
Right. I've noticed that as well. So if you... we might not see it that same day. Let's say you missed it in the morning. We might not see it, but we're going to by the next day.
Yeah.
And then to get back on track isn't as easy as, I just will take these now that when I need to.
Right.
You get
because
back
it's
on
already
track.
out of the system.
Right. Or it's already below a therapeutic level.
Right. That's the way to say it.
So the things that we're talking about, it's not just as simple as me wanting you to do something or you not wanting to do something.
Right.
It's not as simple as, so it might, I hope we don't give that impression, because it's not the way that it is. There's a level of functioning that varies, and there are days that you get up and you are very clear,
mm-hmm.
and you're able to get things done.
Yeah, where my clarity of mind is really
sharp.
Yeah.
And other times that's not the case.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what any other expectations are of that particular day. It could be a holiday. It could be a day that we've been planning on something great that's coming up that we're looking forward to it.
It could be my birthday.
Yeah.
And I could still have those down days.
Right. And it seems like those... What makes it so difficult a lot of times to move forward and to find that thing that works
mm-hmm.
is because of that exact issue, that you're not at the same functioning level every day. So what works for one day, a reminder or a prompt that you've put in place or I've put in place that works one day is not going to reach you the next day.
Right.
And that's what makes this so difficult. I've been trying for all these years. I don't know what it is that you need to, what we can provide to help you the most. We've tried so many different things, and if anybody out there listening to this has any suggestions, has any recommendations, anything that you've done in your family that works, let us know, please, because
we may be helping you, but we could always use help too.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about this? I just feel like we're like
scratching the surface.
I feel like that's what we're doing here, because we didn't really get down to the point where, I guess here at the very end we are, but it's just that there's no, sometimes it seems like there's no rhyme or reason to when things work and when they don't work.
Right.
And the fact that they can be on a day that you've been looking forward to, and then you wake up and then that's a day you're not functioning.
Yeah.
There's no way to, there's no pattern.
Right.
Except that there's no pattern.
Yeah. It's predictable in its unpredictableness.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, I guess we'll just keep on doing it, and we'll try that the idea that you had.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, good deal. Is there anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Not at the moment, anyway.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be done for today then.
Okay.
And a lot of times when we're done, like I feel real, like, oh, okay, this is very cool. Like I still feel sort of, I guess, bummed. I just don't really, I don't like not feel like we've gotten someplace or really conveyed something. I don't know. Maybe we did. I hope so. But
then let me end it on a happy note then.
Okay.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I don't know. Why don't you answer the door?
Okay. Okay. Boom.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And please, if you like what we're doing, check us out. We're on SonyaKing.com. On
iTunes.
Yes, iTunes. I have a Twitter account that's at Sonya King Comedy. You can leave a note on Facebook. But also, the podcast is, again, on the iTunes, on YouTube, on SonyaKing.com. It's called Josh Has Autism. We'd love to hear from you. So please drop us a line. Let us know what you think. Have any questions, anything else. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Love you.
Bye.